Well, thank you so much for joining us at the end of the day to explore the agent landscape. I have my amazing co-host, Seth Juarez, here. And I'm Kendra Springer. I'm a Principal Group Product Manager for Copilot Studio. And Seth, what do you do?
I am a Principal Program Manager in Azure AI Foundry. I actually, my day job is to work on the Azure AI Foundry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are peers.
That's right.
On
That's
opposite
right.
sides.
I don't know if I'm as good as her. I don't know if we're peers, but
No.
yeah.
Okay, so today we are going to take you through agents and copilots. What are they? How to think about them? How can we break them down to their most granular level? Okay, and then we're going to go through the spectrum of tools that you have to build your agent solutions. We're going to help bring it to life with a number of demos and with a wonderful customer story, which we have another great speaker coming up on stage. And then we're going to end with some governance, which we know we all love and need. So let's kick it off. So AI, as many of you are not surprised if you've been here all day long so far, AI is transforming the way that we do business, from individuals to every single business process across every organization and every industry. And the way that Microsoft is empowering organizations to do this is with copilots for the employee and employee productivity and agents, right? Whether they are internal agents to help drive that individual productivity or external agents to help support your customers, your partners. And this seems pretty simple, right? But if you start to think about all of the agents, all of the copilots, all of the rebrands, all of the tools to build them, all of the entry points, all of the ways to publish and govern, it can start to feel a little complex, a little confusing, a little like, where do I start, right? So the goal of this session is to help drive clarity. We want you to leave this session understanding what is an agent, what is the right tool to build the solution that I need for my scenario, right? And then to feel comfortable and confident in getting started. And I think you had.
That's right. So the first thing is, and this is the part that I think is important. What does it mean when we say agent? Have you wondered this? Like, we hear about AI agents everywhere. They're everywhere. They're like, are they under my bed? Look under your pillow. They're everywhere, and then people are telling that it's going to change the universe, right? And I think it is. But what is it? And that's the question that I want to spend like foundational time looking at exactly what an agent is functionally. Like, we're going to look at code, and then we're going to abstract our way up to such a degree that you'll be able to say, oh, okay, I know what an agent is. And when you're navigating the landscape of agents, you'll understand why there's different kinds and why they're implemented in different ways and why that's okay. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go full old school and be like TED Talky and be like pause. What does an agent mean here, right? And so I actually looked it up. Full dictionary lookup. Agency is the ability to take action or to choose what action to take. That's a simple, simple concept. We actually write code that does this all the time, right? We do. Like, for example, if someone is applying for a thing, right, or paying for something, we decide with code whether to accept or reject the payment, whether to accept or reject a thing, whether they're searching for this thing or that. We have software make decision all the time, and it doesn't bother us, right? But it turns out that it's a little bit different when we talk about taking decisions with AI. But it's not that much different. So let me talk first about what an LLM is, how these things actually have agency, and then we'll talk about how we have LLMs make choices. So for those of you that don't know, LLMs, my training is in computational linguistics. I did research at the University of Utah in computational linguistics. I studied NLP. And so I've been doing machine learning since before it was cool. Right? So to me, this is just like a new kind of model. And what happened is, and I'm going to say we a lot, like the Seahawks, we won the Super Bowl, as if I was on the field, but
You were on the field.
I was.
I
In
saw
spirit.
you.
You saw me in
I
spirit.
did.
She saw me there. We haven't won the Super Bowl in a while.
That's because you were on the
So
field.
when we won the Super Bowl, right? So when we trained LLMs, effectively, for me, a machine learning model's job is to predict something. And you are all okay with this, right? For example, prediction of like OCR is an easy model. It predicts all the letters that you wrote, and you're okay with that, right? An LLM is a model that took human language, right? And what it did is it chunked it up and made vectors and pushed it into this giant math function, and out comes another giant vector with every possible token you could create for human language, and a probability distribution of you should pick this one, you should pick that one, right? And so when you feed it through the LLM, out comes a token. And in my head, the sound is bloop, right? It just does one. And you're like, but Seth, it does more than that. It turns out that it does it in a loop. Bloop, 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 bloop. That's just now you're never going to be able to use an LLM without, bloop, bloop, without hearing that. That's all it does. And so as a programmer, when you are dealing with a stochastic process, that's a $5 word for a probabilistic model. When you're dealing with a stochastic process, the way that you maximize the probability that the thing that it gives you back is the thing you want it back is high is by maximizing the tokens that you put in the prompt. So if you wanted to talk about dogs, what do? You say something like, you really like dogs. Tell me something. And then you're like, tell me something. What is it going to say? I like dogs. Do you see that? That's kind of dumb. Let me show you an example. So we're going to go here. Which one's mine? 3? Here we go. There's a big number here for those that don't know the nuance. So anyone from Europe here? Europe? Yes. We just finished a very serious thing in Europe called the Eurovision Song Contest. It is, we don't have this here, but it's like the pageantry, the costumes, the international friendly rivalry. I'm American, but it's really a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, you are I'm going to show you this working. You are an AI assistant that helps people find information about the Eurovision Song Contest. Okay, so now when I ask it stuff, what is it going to want to talk to me about? Who won the first ESC? Now I'm going to break a rule here, but I'm going to make it break it. You should, again, these things are optimized to produce the next likely token, right? Don't use them as databases of knowledge. That's not what they are. I just broke my rule, but I did it for a point. These are not knowledge databases. Does that make sense? Do not use them like that. Everyone gets mad because it's hallucinating. Well, its job is to generate tokens. So yeah, if you tell it to make stuff up, it will make stuff up, right? So notice that here it happened to get the right answer, but did it get the right answer? Well, because, who went 220? Wait, did it get the right answer? Why? Because when we trained it then. Don't use it like a database. Right, but there's things that you do to it like this, for example. You might ask it like, who won the first ESC? And do you think it'll get it right? That's the part that we all mess up. It's not a database, it's a language calculator. It calculates the next likely language from the language you give it. Does that make sense? So let me fix it. Let me fix it. Let's see here. Eurovision 2025 Wikipedia. Look at that. This just finished like the other day, right? Look at that. Let me get this. I'm going to say Control C, and I'm going to say this is what you know. It's the same sound, actually, now that I think about it. Um, who won the last ESC? Did it get it right? I can't see. Did it get it right? Why?
Yeah.
Because I used it like a language calculator. Notice that the LLM effectively has agency to give me a response based upon the prompt. Does that make sense? That's the lowest level of agency you can give these things. Does that make sense? We're going to go more agentic, if that's okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some code here. This is a declarative language for declaring prompts. We use it in Foundry at a low level. So I'm showing you low level stuff here. So this thing has some inputs like first name, last name, question, and it says this is a system message, you are an AI assistant who helps people find information. You should decide if it's a support or a sales question. Okay? So this is completion-based autonomy. So when I run this code like this, I say, my tense is broken, yo. Is this a support or a sales question?
Did your 12-year-old daughter write that?
She did not. That was all me, believe it or not. This is a support question. Notice that with this object output, or with this string output, you can actually branch your code, right? So in your code, it's like you've given it agency to decide, right? This is low level, and I want to show you, this isn't made up, right? Let's ask what tense is best, yo? Look at that. I didn't have to change. I'll leave burst. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's a language model. Which tense is burst, yo? That's pretty good, right? I put some dumb thing in there, and it's able to say support or sales. So early on when we were using LLMs, we called this intent mapping, and what we did is we prefixed a code with an LLM to decide how to go down the branch of doing stuff. Does that make sense? And so at that point, these things became agentic because they had the power to choose what to do next. Does that make sense? This got more sophisticated with things like structured outputs. So for example, you could tell a thing, Alice and Bob are going to the science fair. Your job is to extract the output information, and the output needs to be in this format. So when I run this thing, right, it's going to load it up. What it's going to do is it's going to return an object. Notice that now, with this object, you can give it more agency to branch, right? If this and that or that, whatever, it can branch in your code. This thing became agentic. And then someone thought, if we can do this, can we give it the ability to output a function to run next, right? And let's go over here. You'll see in this function, this one has a tool or a function called getCurrentWeather. And when I ask a question like, what's the weather like in San Francisco, Tokyo, and Paris, instead of it returning like an object or a word, it returns an object that's shaped exactly like a function. So it tells you exactly what to run next. And it's at this point that these things become fully agentic. Does this make sense? I don't know why people don't explain it this way. It's the dumbest thing ever. We've effectively have like a new programming control structure. It's like an if statement or a switch statement. Well, let's call it the new Swift statement because it swifts up English and tells you what code to run next. And so when we look at this stuff, is this two? No, where's
You're on one.
Deck.
It's labeled.
Oh, is that what the numbers are?
Deck.
Dang, that's odd. I thought you were calling me a name. So when we do this thing here, this is LLM, and when you look at the LLM, we can use it to make choices. That's when it becomes agentic. But then this thing was programmatized into this is a full agent. An agent has a model, instruction/prompt, and a collection of tools that allow it to do something. And if you've been to any Foundry things today, you saw this exact slide, but now it feels different, right? It feels different. It's like, I know what this is. And that's the beauty of this thing, is that with a new agentic approach to doing this stuff, single agent systems are effectively the AI side with instructions, models, and tools. I forgot the model, but that was my fault. And then the code side that executes stuff. That thing that you saw there, let me show you how this actually runs. So I'm going to go full agent here. This is the full agent right here. And this agent gets the current weather. I'm going to show you the code, and then I'm going to show you the thing that it did. So this thing's job is to get the weather. What's the weather like in Tokyo? It's going to, by the way, and then what I'm doing, this is a framework that maps this function to this tool. You see that? And so it's saying, load up this agent. And by the way, all frameworks do this in a different way. So just ignore that. This is the way I like to do it. Now I'm going to ask it, what's the weather like in Tokyo? What's the weather like going to be in Tokyo, do you think? Well, this function always returns the same thing, but it returns it. But when I look at the actual run here, you're going to see that internally, well, no, let me go full debug. Let me go full debug so you can see that this is actual just regular code. When this thing runs, it has a thread of execution that has, this is what the user asked for, this is the function that I wanted to run, this is the return from the function, and this is my answer, and you're going to see it right here. So let me go down. Where's the inputs? There you are. There's the thread, the array of inputs, and you're going to see, I'm going to zoom in, so don't worry. Here's the question. Here's the thing it asked for. Hey, I need to run this tool. Here's the response from the function, and then here's the output. And so effectively, the LLM runs multiple times, says, I need to run this function. It runs it. It puts it back on this structure called the thread, and then it feeds it back in, and then it produces an answer. If you say, what's the weather? It's going to ask you, can you tell me what city? Because it needs that information to run the function call. And then when it gets it, it does it, and then that happens. Okay, so that is number two. Number one. No, number one.
Number one.
There you go. Thank you. There's a number of structures for this. This thing, this is called the agent loop, where it's like, hey, a human has a question. The LLM call says I need to do something with the tool. It does the feedback, and then it stops. Sometimes it asks the human for more information, and they go, but there's other ways to run stuff. You can have multiple prompt chains that does stuff. This one on the prompt chaining one is like that intent mapping thing for support or sales, right? That I told you. There's other ways. You can have LLMs like talk to each other. By the way, this is how we actually evaluate LLMs or agents. We have an agent execute, and we have another agent, LLM judge it. It's called a judge-based LLM evaluations. And that's how that thing works. Okay, there's a ton of frameworks that let you do this, like AutoGen, LangChain, Semantic Kernel, LangGraph, Crew AI. They all have their ways of building these things, and we also are going to show you the ways that we do it. But it's important to remember that this bit right here, the agent loop, all the way to the left, it kind of like self-micro-orchestrates like what functions it needs to call to solve a particular problem. Okay, frameworks do this. Were you doing this? Is this you?
This is you.
Oh, okay.
You wanted to like jump ahead, and I'm going to slow you down.
Okay, slow me down. So you're probably looking at a copilot. Well, what's a copilot versus an agent? Notice that a copilot is a step abstraction up. That's a user-facing agent that you can communicate with and have it do stuff for you. An agent doesn't necessarily have to have user interaction. In fact, in the keynote tomorrow, you're going to see a powerful agent that itself asks other agents to do stuff in English, which is insane to me, right? But now that you know that the unit thing makes sense, it's it sounds impressive, but at the unit level, there's an understanding of what's happening. And hopefully that works.
Yep. But I do think you maybe abstracted 2 layers up.
Yeah, I did. I was super low level.
You were super low level and then you got excited.
I did. I went too far.
It's okay. I think we need to come back down to a middle layer, right? And take the information that Seth took us from the most granular level and map it to the way that we think about agents in a Copilot and Copilot Studio abstracted world, right? So basic properties or bones of an agent, you have your instructions, your meta prompt that tells the agent what to do. You have triggers, which allows the agent to know how to invoke that action or that function.
That's right.
You have tools, which are your automation capabilities, right? This is how your agent can do something. You have knowledge. You have your orchestrator, which is your brain of your agent, which essentially is omniscient and understands all of the capabilities or Lego blocks you have, whether it's these tools or knowledge, and how to piece them together depending on the user's query. And then you have those foundational models underneath, right, that help drive the behavior of the agent. And so if I were to map them to what Seth just talked about, instructions are simple, instructions. If we have the input,
Invoking.
yeah. It moved very quickly.
Yeah, sorry.
We needed to slow that down.
Yeah, that was really fast. I was like, whoa, I missed it. But I saw invoking.
Invoking. Then we have tools or tools. We have the same nomenclature there. Data is knowledge, right? And then when it comes to orchestration, when it comes to what Seth was showing us, we have both micro and macro orchestration, where in Copilot agents and custom agents with Copilot Studio, we think about this all wrapped up into a single orchestrator. And then, of course, models are models, right? And so if we break this up a little bit further and start to demystify the types of agents that you're creating when you're building in certain places, right? So on the left-hand side, when you are building with the embedded agent builder in M365 Copilot, those instructions are those declarative agent prompts. Those are those prompts that you're typing in to tell the agent what to do, how to behave. Your triggers are M365 Copilot. Your tools are Power Platform connectors, custom APIs. Your knowledge is graph connectors and M365. And then your orchestrator and your foundational model are merged into M365's proprietary LLM service, Sydney. On the custom agent side, with Copilot Studio agents, this is where everything is kind of a superset, right? With these agents, you still have those custom prompts that you're writing via natural language, you're building those instructions. Your triggers, you can have both conversational, but you can also have autonomous or event-driven triggers. When an email is received, do XYZ, right? Your tools, you have Power Platform connectors, custom APIs, and MCPs, and more to come. Knowledge, you have our out-of-box knowledge, so you could do websites, Dataverse, files. You also have access to the graph, and you have an amazing integration point with Azure AI Foundry to bring your custom RAG over your data inside of your Copilot agent, or your custom agent, excuse me. Then for your orchestrator, you have a rule-based and a generative. Generative is just our LLM-driven orchestration. And then your foundational models, Copilot Studio is always trained on the latest model. Or, also coming very soon, you can replace that underlying model with an industry-specific, a fine-tuned model, or one of the over 1,300, 1,400?
11,000 I saw today. It's insane.
Jeez
I know, we
Louise.
really stuffed it in there.
11,000 models available
good
out
job.
of the box. Okay, so if we think about the types of agents you can build, now let's think about the capabilities that these agents can have, right? And I really dislike the bookends of simple and advanced, and I'm going to tell you why. All the way on your left, we have retrieval, or a simple agent, right? We have our customer that's going to be up here in just a second, that's actually leveraging Copilot Studio, Azure, and M365 to deploy a simple information retrieval agent that indexes over 21 million legal and tax documents deployed across the globe in multiple languages. Not simple, highly powerful. But you can absolutely take it a step further, enabling those agents to complete tasks for you, work on your behalf, and then you can move it all the way to the right to the most advanced and give it those autonomous or event-driven capabilities where these agents are working on your behalf at all times, waiting for that specific event to happen and then to follow that subsequent flow. So that's an agent. That's its capabilities. That's how to think about what you're building and the capabilities you have when you're building these agents. So let's really quickly come back. We only have a couple more slides, and then we're going to get into the fun demos, to this copilots and agent story so that we can round it out and bring it back to clarity around how to think about copilots and agents. So copilots is like your cell phone. It's the best analogy that I have. You've maybe heard it before. If not, it's the best analogy. It's a one-to-one relationship that helps you get through your day, communicate with the people you need to communicate with, and again, it's that productivity partner that follows you across all of the different things that you need to do that day. Agents are like the apps that you download to customize that cell phone, right? You build those agents so that they're tailored to you, your organization, your role, your data, etc. And Copilot is truly that UI for AI, right? That's where you go to get access to all of this goodness and all of these agents that you're creating. And the key in the middle to be able to build those agents is where Copilot Studio comes in. And you have definitely a spectrum of tools that you can use to build these agents, right? And this is one of the biggest questions I get when I meet with customers. It's like, well, I started building here, but I'm not building there. Should I use this? Should I use that? Should I use this feature? Which is better? How do I know? It's not an either or story. It's an and story. Based on the scenario that you are looking to achieve and who your end user is, you can move along this spectrum without ever having to dip your toe into Azure if you don't need to. Start in that embedded agent builder. Build a really powerful agent that helps drive productivity in onboarding for your employees. Or move into more of a makerspace where you need to configure things like handoff, authentication, maybe some rule-based conversation logic for more structured control. Or dip into Azure if you want to leverage a custom index. Maybe you have a specific taxonomy that RAG will truly help increase the accuracy over your data inside of Copilot Studio. Or maybe you want to leverage one of those models that I mentioned before. And I think this is where we were having a heated debate about
That's right.
this. So I'm going to let you take over this one.
She beat me up here on this one. The thing about this is that you need to think about, and this is, for me, I'm not a fan of pro code versus low code. That's not a thing for me. None of you here are like, I'm a pro coder, so I'm going to rewrite Excel to figure out how these things add up. Who thinks like that? You do. You know, we should hang out. We should hang out. I have a lot of questions about your childhood and mine. To be fair, both of our childhoods. But if you think about it, there are certain things that you just don't. Why would you spend time making Excel if it's a thing? That's why when anyone comes to me, and I work in Azure AI Foundry, I work at a low level, right? If someone says, I want to start with a Copilot, I say, go to Microsoft Copilot Studio and try it out. See if it does what you do.
See how far you can get.
Yeah.
And then see where you need to push for that complete AI, customized
Correct.
AI solution.
That's right, because if you need a full app, my pants are falling down. I don't want to have an embarrassing moment on camera. If you want to do something super custom, I would still start at Microsoft Copilot Studio and see where the reality of your super custom thing breaks.
Yeah, where do you hit that cliff?
Yeah, and so on the left-hand side, you see rapid authoring in Visual Canvas. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to get started with that? Use pre-built and defaults, manage SaaS with a single price. On the other side, you may have a brownfield app, for example, and if you don't know what a brownfield app is, it's just an app that's been around forever that now you need to add some stuff into, where rapid authoring is not something you would do because it's in your code. that's where you would choose something like Azure AI Foundry to have your agents in to bring them in. And you don't have to be technically skilled because, I mean, they let me do stuff there, right?
That's true.
That's true.
Someone said yes,
Yes.
at one time.
But if you think about it, Azure AI Foundry is for using agents inside of your actual dev flow. That's not saying you can't do that with an MCS, but if it needs to be inside of your very specific process, Azure AI Foundry. But if you just want to start and make an agent, make it an MCS. I'm sure you could call it in code even too, right? Or trigger it.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to say, well, we're not sure about agentic yet. Fire up MCS at Microsoft Copilot Studio, make an agent, call it from your code. If you're like, yeah, we know we need to do agentic, but it needs to be super specific to our use case, we need to use a specific model, and we need to make sure that it's embedded in this specific workflow, that's what Azure AI Foundry is for. But the reality is that they both ultimately are doing the same thing, which is they have instructions.
Sure do.
They have a collection of tools, and then they have an execution flow that allows them to convert from language into execution.
Yep. And maybe we can crowdsource at the end of this session what we should call these guides, because I like your idea. He had one that was some assembly required, all assembly required.
That we actually asked an LLM to decide this for us.
It didn't help.
It didn't do a good job.
It wasn't helpful.
We're not gonna lie.
It wasn't helpful, yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna start deep diving specifically into our product areas and start to show this capability in action, right? So within Copilot Studio, there's really two main capabilities that you can, or two types of agents that you can build within Copilot Studio. So the first is for information workers to help drive productivity internally and extend Copilot, right? And that is within the embedded agent builder. The other is within Copilot Studio First, and this is where you build those custom agents that you can deploy both internally still for Copilot or externally as a standalone agent for your employees or customers or partners. So the first one I want to talk about is the embedded agent builder. And I'm going to skip over to my demo machine. And we're going to start by just quickly building a Copilot agent in a couple of minutes and show you exactly how powerful and easy it is to do.
Yeah, ours doesn't say like, hi, Seth. Like maybe we should.
Maybe you should work on that.
Maybe I should say, hi, Seth.
Feature requests.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to start out by initially building a procurement advisor agent for our procurement team. We want this agent to help the team process new statements of work, look at different supplier invoices, make sure that they align with our procurement approved rate card, right? So I gave it that prompt, and procurement advisor, yep, looks good. And you'll notice as I'm describing the agent on the left, it's actually building the agent for me on the right. Okay, so now it's letting me decide a little bit more. Oh, apologies there. Refine on how I want my agent to behave. Long answers, short answers, when to refer to knowledge, how to be appropriate with the department and the documentation that's available to it, etc. So I'll continue building this agent step by step by giving it these prompts in natural language. Again, no code here. Apologies.
No, it's okay, right?
And would you like, okay, publicly accessible websites or any information additionally to ground this agent in, I'm actually going to pivot over to configure, and I want to go ahead and give it a SharePoint site. And this is where all of my procurement documentation and procurement policies are stored. Okay, so I've gone ahead and given it that knowledge, and I'm going to go ahead and just test this so that we can get started trying it out. And this can be a great way to think about how can I do initial, again, statement of work or RFP reviews. How can I look at maybe potential invoices to make sure that they're in line with the policies of my organization? So I've created this agent successfully. I could go ahead and share my agent or just go to the agent and start chatting with it. So right here within my Procurement Advisor agent, I actually want to go ahead and have it look at a sample statement of work. Oh, so sorry. We do not.
I'm terrible at not using, I have to use a mouse because I must be old. That trackpad, I can never get it to do what I want.
You never can, no. Okay, so I am going to have it look at this statement of work and tell me if this statement of work is in compliance. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's looking at this example statement of work, it's looking at our procurement approved rate card and guidance for how statements of work for our organization should be written, et cetera. And then it analyzes it and lets me know that based on the comparison that this does align and we are good, this is in compliance, I'm good to move forward. And so you can see here that just within, I think it took me 1 minute and 30 seconds, to build that agent, I saved probably what? A week's worth of work reviewing this statement of work and then comparing it with my procurement policies and documents and approved rate card.
I golf clap, yeah, absolutely, that's great.
That's very generous. And I am gonna skip over this one. Okay, now we're going to look at for makers. Working in Copilot Studio first. And the scenario that we're going to look at is actually one of our autonomous capabilities, right? So this demo looks at how when there is an increase in inventory needs, right? Or increase in that forecasted need for inventory, how are we able to leverage the information we know about our existing suppliers, potential suppliers, and identify a supplier that we can leverage in order to make sure that there's no disruption in service. So let me skip over to my next tab. Okay, so here's that agent, our supplier discovery agent. And again, you can see I gave it a description for how I'd like it to help support us. And then I've given it those step-by-step instructions for when there's a surge in that need for an additional supplier to support. It needs to leverage our various knowledge sources that I gave it, leverage the tools that I gave it in order to identify the best fit. And so I'll go ahead and test this trigger. And I will kick off the testing. And so this simulates when a new surge for a new supplier occurs, right? And we need to kick off that process.
And this is cool because we don't have this modeled in Azure AI Foundry because triggers to us are like your code, but triggers to you can be really any kind of thing, right?
Any sort of thing, whether it's a chat or an event that invokes the agent to take action.
And see, that's you see the difference in altitude, but it's still the same stuff, just different altitude.
Just different altitude,
yeah.
Yes. We obscure a lot of those more granular details, right? To bring value to you all,
yeah.
To make sure that you can get started faster and you can create really powerful solutions easy. Okay, so you see here, it's gone through a number of different steps. It looked at the list of suppliers from our ERP system. It indexed all of our knowledge around supplier capacity, their performance, their location. It also ran a search in the web for other suppliers that we might not have information on. And then it used deep reasoning to actually reason over all of this information and identify exactly the right option for us. And then what it did is it actually created an entire report and it sent it to me on Teams. So I'll pop over to Teams.
And as you're doing that, notice that they just do it. If you were doing this with Foundry, this would be connected to your systems, but they've already made it nice it connects to all of the Microsoft systems.
All of the Microsoft systems.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so here is that message that my agent sent me, and I'm going to click to review the comprehensive proposal. And now I have this proposal that goes through all of the different supplier comparisons, their yearly spend analysis, and I can send this to my leadership to let them know which supplier makes the most sense to use. And with that, I think I turn it back over to you.
That's right. We're going to be looking at Azure AI Foundry. So yeah, let's give her a. All right, so this is Azure AI Foundry. Oh wait, do I have slides first?
You have a couple of slides.
Okay, let me do those first here. So this is Azure AI Foundry. It is a stack, but it's a low-level stack, right? I don't use a lot of Microsoft Copilot Studio because I'm in Foundry all the time making that experience here. But notice that as we click down, there's not a concept like a trigger, for example, because at this layer of abstraction, it's lower. At a higher level of abstraction, that's something that makes sense. For us, you can actually build a lot of this stuff in any of the tools that you want. So when you're using Copilot Studio, you're actually using the models that we have in there. But we have Foundry models. We have this thing called Foundry Agent Service. I'll show you how you can build an agent and execute it in a second. And then we have a bunch of services underneath that include other models. And then we have this thing called Foundry Observability, so that you can test and make sure your models are doing the right thing. And that's something that's abstracted at higher levels because they're doing all of that diligent work. But if it's something that's not part of the flow and you need to do something different that works with your particular software, that's what this is for. All right, so I think that is so let's talk about the agent service. It's generally available starting today. So let's go here to my demo where I'm on number 3. I'm getting this now.
You're doing a great job.
This is great. So this is a Azure AI Foundry, and I want you to get a sense for how many models we have. I don't know how I can emphasize this. I don't know if there's a way to emphasize how many models we have. Notice that when you're in Copilot Studio, you don't choose the model because there are certain tasks that they have figured out are awesome with certain models, right? But with the burden of choice comes the burden of a couple of models, right? And so you have to start thinking about, like, how do I actually compare the models? How do they actually work? Which ones are the best ones? And so if you go to our leaderboards, you can actually see which models perform, cost, etc. And notice that now it's kind of like you are building Excel a little bit, but only because you have to, right? And that's okay. And that's okay. So these are all the models. We have a lot of models, like a lot of them, that can span any number of industry or capabilities or inference tests. I always look here, right? So for example, audio classification, that's important, but that doesn't feel like agentic AI, but it certainly could be a tool for agentic AI. Do you see what I'm saying? It could be part of an AI process that's agentic. Do you see that? So at the bottom layer, you get a much looser structure of what you can and cannot, or what you can do, because you can do anything at this point. But the burden now becomes yours. But that's okay, because sometimes that's what you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to show you is this notion of the AI agent, Azure AI Agent Service. For us, building agents is literally, so let me go to, there was an agent you saw today in Satya's keynote. Did you see that? It was like the Vibe Travel agent. Did you see that one? That's literally this agent right here. This is the actual agent that Kadesha actually did. By the way, that demo was actually live, and I know because I wrote it. So it was actually calling the model. It wasn't fake. It wasn't like a tab demo. It wasn't like a PowerPoint slide. It actually called the model, and I know because I was sweating bullets doing 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, because it comes back in around 6 seconds because it's the agent's doing all the function loop, the function call loop, and it returned. And you saw, at first when she called it, it was like, you would do great skiing in New Zealand in 8 months, which is the middle of summer for them. And then what she did is she hooked up this tool. And this is this tool right here, Grounding with Bing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to another project, because this actual project we're using tomorrow for tomorrow's keynote. And I'm going to make a new agent. Very good. It's Agent 194, which is a great name for it. And I'm going to use GPT-4o as the model. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it the you are an assistant to help people find information about the Eurovision Song Contest. Say salsa. Use all available tools to find the right answer. I'm trying this for the first time, okay? Because I was like, I have an idea, let's try it. So let's add some knowledge. We'll let it figure out like from the internet. We'll use Amanda's thing here. And now that we have this thing, we can actually talk to it. So we're going to try it. Just crossing my fingers. I just had this idea right now.
I love that.
By the way, if it doesn't work, remember that this is an engineering problem of making sure you have the right prompt. And then making sure you test, and I'll show you how you do that, okay? So what was the question? Who won the last ESC?
And you're going to do all of that in 2 minutes.
I'm going to do it all in 2 minutes, yes.
Yes.
In 2 minutes. It's going to be really fast.
Okay.
Notice that it's looking for Bing. It's using the tool, and as you can see, did it get it right? Do you remember how it wasn't the right thing last time, and I had to... Now, first try, and this was me just doing it off the cuff. I'm like, oh, let me try this, right? I built an agent that then you can use. The thing I want to show you here is how you call this in actual code. So let me go here to this app, and let me show you the handler. You pass this handler in when you execute in Azure AI Foundry, and then it gives you every single instance of like, is a tool call being issued? What's the message now? Because you saw how it did each of those things. You get an event every time this happens. So this is very low level, but that's okay, right? Last but not least, the way that you evaluate these things is through either automated evaluations or AI red teaming or manual evaluation. So here's the evaluator library that you can use to actually test that these agents are doing the right things. These are like unit tests for agents per se, and we have a lot of them. The AI red teaming agent also happens to be an agent. This is the agent, I don't have any in here, but this agent will produce bad stuff, and then it will make your models, make your agent try to see what happens if it does it. Do you see that? And it's really funny, but that is what this thing does. So notice I showed you how to make an agent in Azure AI Foundry. I made one. I showed you how to use it in code, and I showed you how to test it. There are a ton of other sessions that you can go to that will do that a little bit more. Did I take 2 minutes?
You did, and you're still up.
Oh, I'm still up.
You're still up.
Let's do it.
I'm going to switch over for you.
Okay, so more agents. Notice that we talked about one agent. You can actually connect other agents. We have this notion in Azure AI Foundry of a connected agent because a tool call can also be an agent, right? And so that what we call implicit orchestration. And then there's graph-based orchestrations where you explicitly describe how agents can transfer control to different agents. And there's all other kinds of architectures that you can actually build.
And for time purposes, I'm going to pivot over this slide and just get straight into the multi-agent demo for you all. So what I'm going to show you today is the ability to build and deploy a multi-agent solution leveraging Copilot Studio, which can orchestrate across not only Copilot Studio agents, but also Azure AI Foundry agents. So here I am inside of my root agent, a Contoso checking agent, which was built to help banking customers complete banking scenarios like fraudulent charges, transferring funds, checking their account balance, etc. Now, previously, if you were building this agent with Copilot Studio, you would have to do all of this inside of one agent, leveraging a number of different topics for these specific scenarios or a number of different actions and automation, etc. But now with multi-agent orchestration, you can actually build specialized agents that have all of the information and knowledge they need, as well as automation inside of these core agents and connect them back to your root agent. And so I have things like my balance query agent, or my lost or stolen card, or this transfer fund agent. And so you'll notice inside of this transfer fund agent, I still have these very powerful instructions. And I'm able to give it step-by-step instructions, leveraging natural language with the addition of embedded tools that I want it to use. And again, adding tools is extremely easy. I'm able to select from a tool available to me if I want and move forward. These agents, just like any other, I can add knowledge or I can add a standalone tool. So let's go ahead and test this transfer agent. And you can see here how now when your end users interact with this root agent, right, or this entry agent, they now have the ability for that agent to then orchestrate or identify and hand off to the right agent that's appropriate for that need. So here it asks me which account I'd like to transfer this from, my checking account. It's going to ask me how much. And if you notice, if you remember back to looking at those instructions, this agent is following exactly the instructions that I gave it. And it confirms with me because, again, I asked it to confirm with me. And yep, this looks great. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and make that transfer. But there's more that I want to go ahead and do with this agent. I want to scale it so that it not only handles these traditional banking needs, but also things like the needs from our mortgage department, right? And so my mortgage team has, good Lord, sorry, my tabs are in a different order. Thank you for bearing with me. Has built a mortgage agent that has all of the capabilities and data that these mortgage agents need to go ahead and complete mortgage-related scenarios. So adding this agent to my Contoso checking agent is very simple. Right within the New Agents tab, I click Add an Agent, and again, like I said, we could connect to an Azure AI Foundry agent, Microsoft Fabric, or coming soon, the ability to connect to a third-party agent, so you can truly have a limitless multi-agent solution deployed easily from Copilot Studio. So I'll select Copilot Studio. I'll go ahead and add the mortgages agent, and with just a simple click, this agent is added, and I can immediately test this scenario. I don't even have to restart the conversation or publish first. So I've added this agent, and now I'd like to know when my next payment is due and how much will it be for. And you'll see here that the Contoso agent understands that it needs to invoke my mortgage agent and the action within this agent to provide me my next date. Now, this is extremely powerful, but it can be even better, right? And one of the things that is also now available is the ability to support multiple languages within our generative orchestration. So what that means is, over within settings, within language, you'll see that I have also configured this agent to work in Spanish. And so back in my testing pane, I'm going to actually switch the language I want to test in into Spanish. Keep in mind, I've configured this entire agent, all of the instructions, all of the tools, all of the data in English. And just by simply, we're going to restart. Gotta love a live demo. Mm-hmm. It's fine. We're gonna move forward with the next question.
I'll speak in Spanish for a little bit while you're in. ¿Cómo estamos?
Perfect. I'm gonna try the same request to transfer funds in Spanish. And you'll notice that it follows the same steps, right? So it gets the same user profile, and again, in Spanish, responds and asks me how much I would like, or what account I'd like to transfer it from. And so you can see here all of the power in building, deploying, and testing these multi-agent solutions. And with that, I think I'll hand back over.
All right, so I think we need to start talking about getting our friend up here.
Our friend, our customer, yes. Okay, so let's move through this really quickly because we are rapidly running out of time. So just to kind of bring it full circle, and get you all thinking about how agents can be leveraged in your organization. So they can truly be leveraged across every single industry, from travel to retail, manufacturing, education, and every department: customer service, HR, sales, IT. And we have a number of different customers that are leveraging agents in these areas. I'm going to skip ahead to EY because that is who we want to invite up on stage. And there's a great quote here that talks about the impact that Portal One, which was that simple retrieval agent that I talked about earlier with 21 million documents that it indexed over, and the impact that it's had within their organization. And so with no further ado, I'm going to invite Mark LeQuire up to the stage to tell his story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
And Seth, in fairness, I was at a Eurovision party on Saturday.
There you go. See, I know it was important.
Appreciate it. For those that don't know, EY is a global professional services firm. Hopefully you've heard of them before. We have about 460,000 employees globally in about 150 countries, something like that. This represents just a snapshot of our global technology platform footprint internally to the firm. We use that platform to deliver solutions for clients as well. A few interesting things here. You can see that we've already used AI to generate more than 9 million lines of code that are running in production applications today. We have about 270,000 low-code users today. We use AI to process documents constantly. I think it's about 2 million plus annually that we do there. It may be higher than that. There are a number of use cases where we've used AI. We've used Azure AI Foundry and built applications with more than 300,000 daily users on them. So really leveraging that footprint globally across Azure. We've also used AI to drive solutions. I just saw one last week that we developed for a client that helps to deal with medical claims for an insurance company. And so we're able to go through the medical records of somebody and help the agents that have to do that, which is a very tedious action for them to go through that and remember all the different details throughout that patient's history. And we're able to accelerate that process and improve the quality of that process overall. So one of the demos that we're going to show here is where we used Agent Builder and Copilot Studio to help drive a proposal creator agent that really helps. It's grounded in a number of proposals that we've built over time. We built this in partnership with Microsoft, so you'll see the famous Contoso.
Let's see how
as
an
the
agent
example.
can help sales teams with proposal creation. Here we are in Teams where our sales team is working together on a new proposal for the Contoso Water Company. First, our seller starts a new thread where the team can collaborate on the proposal work. We start by asking our proposal agent to generate a proposal for Contoso, a water company. We can easily mention our proposal agent to help just like we would a teammate. The proposal agent quickly responds to the ask, replying to the thread with a draft proposal for Contoso. It's pulled this together using knowledge it has from a number of systems, including internal platforms like EY Discover, where historical proposal data lives. The agent is able to come up with a new proposal for Contoso based on knowledge of previous work done for Contoso, as well as similar clients within the same industry. Now that the proposal agent has created the draft, Christina asks it to email it to her. The agent responds quickly and emails Christina the draft proposal directly. Let's move over to Copilot. Our proposal agent is available for me directly within Copilot as well. Now, whether I'm working from a Teams channel or Copilot chat or even Word and PowerPoint, my agent is available to help me. Here you can see how easily I can try that same prompt and ask the agent to create me a new proposal directly from within Copilot chat and Word. I can even directly insert the agent's response in my Word document, making it easier than ever to get a draft proposal ready for Contoso.
So you can see here, this really helps speed up the proposal process, and again, grounded in our successful proposals from before, so it helps the teams go a lot faster here.
Let's see how an agent...
No.
We saw it. It was great.
Now this one doesn't have the great demo voice. You're stuck with me. But this is a demo that really was the Portal 1 demo that Kendra was talking about. So it's grounded in more than 21 million documents. So when you're doing taxes, right, especially on a global scale, think about this. In the US, there's more than 12,000 tax jurisdictions when you talk about state and local tax. So trying to understand and remember all of those laws are what tax professionals do, but they have a repository of knowledge they go to verify and to research that. So this helps bring that all together. So it's based on legislation, it's based on EY publications around tax law and knowledge, and a whole other host of information there. So let's see, is it playing? There it goes. So, in this example, we're going to select a global document collection and tax law guides and surveys as part of the context. So users will be able to put their question in naturally, and just like they would ask a colleague, they can ask here and they can understand, what to do in the space. The search will return the relevant responses so that they don't have to go out and look at those documentations and publications. And then finally, it's also going to show you that it's giving you the references, so they can go and validate against those sources, just like you would expect that they need to. That way, we make sure that the quality is there and that they can do that. One of the interesting things here is that before this got released broadly, we tested it with a number of users, and we used feedback to make sure that the accuracy was there. So you see the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and that helped improve the quality over time, and we use that today to help improve and make sure that we maintain the quality there as well. Awesome. So there we go.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute left. I think we knew that we were going to run out of time, so we made this very short, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the importance of the ability to deploy a very safe and secure agent, right? And so security and governance are massive. Data security, AI security, compliance and privacy, right? Being able to have those management controls so you can configure the application lifecycle, what the license is, who has access to these agents, and then of course to round it out, you need the tools to be able to measure utilization. You need the reports to let you know how much usage is happening, adoption, productivity, what's that ROI on those agents that you're deploying. So we're not going to go too deep, obviously, because we don't have time to do so, but we wanted to give you some high-level bits so that you could understand, depending on where you're building these agents, what tools are available for you, right? So within the Microsoft Admin Center, you can govern who has access and ownership to these agents, who can share these agents. You can get visibility and access into agent-level usage reports, as well as licensing and consumption management. And then within Power Platform Admin Center, for agents that you build inside of Copilot Studio, you have DLP controls, audit logs, consumption controls, and robust tools to help deploy and manage the agent lifecycle, and much, much, much more. I didn't have enough room on that slide. And then within Azure.
Yeah, we have evaluations, guardrails, controls, risks and alerts, monitoring, inventory, and compliance auditing. We actually connect to Defender now, and so we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and there are a ton of other sessions where you can go to learn all about governance and more. So take a screenshot of this. There are some great sessions throughout the week. And on the Azure side,
Did they get it? Yes.
We have another great slide showing all of the different sessions that you should go check out related to this. And we just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to Seth and I. And here are where you can go to see all of the great blog posts with all of the announcements across Microsoft 365, Copilot Studio, Azure, the tech community, and a number of different resources.
Thank you so much.